Hey guys, I'll be reading The Elephant's Child, adapted from the story by Rudyard Kipling. In the high and far-off times, the elephant, oh best beloved, had no trunk. He had only a blackish, bulgy nose as big as a boot, which he could wriggle about from side to side. There was one elephant, a new elephant, an elephant's child, who was full of satiable curiosity, and that means he asked ever so many questions. He filled all of Africa with his satiable curiosities. He asked his tall aunt the ostrich why her tail feathers just grew just so, and his tall aunt the ostrich spanked him with her sharp claws. He asked his tall uncle the giraffe what made his skin spotty, and the tall uncle giraffe spanked him with his hard hoof. He asked his broad aunt the hippopotamus why her eyes were red, and his broad aunt the hippopotamus spanked him with her broad hoof. And he asked his hairy uncle the baboon why his melons tasted just so, and his hairy uncle the baboon spanked him with his hairy paw. He asked questions about everything that he saw or heard or felt or smelt or touched, and all his uncles and his aunts spanked him. And he was full of satiable curiosity. One fine morning, the satiable elephant's child asked a fine new question that had never been asked before. He asked, "What does the crocodiles have for dinner?" Then everybody said hush and spanked him. Immediately he directly for a long time. By and by, when that was finished, he came upon Kolo Kolo bird sitting in the middle of a bit thorn bush. And he said, "My father has spanked me, and my mother has spanked me. All my aunts and uncles have spanked me for my satiable curiosity. And still I want to know what the crocodiles have for dinner." Then Kolo Kolo bird said with a mournful cry, "Go to the banks of the great gray, green, greasy Limpopo River, all set about with fever trees, and find out." That very next morning, the satiable elephant's child said to all his dear families, "Goodbye. I'm going to the great, gray, green, greasy Limpopo River, all set about with fever trees, to find out what the crocodile has for dinner." And they all spanked him once more for good luck, though he asked them most politely to stop. Then he went away a little warm, but not at all astonished. And at last he came to the banks of the great green, greasy Limpopo River, all set about with fever trees, precisely as Kolo Kolo bird had said. Now you must know and understand, oh best beloved, that till the very next week and day and hour and minute, this satiable elephant's child had never seen a crocodile and did not know what one was like. He trod on what he thought was a log of wood at the very edge of the great, gray, green, greasy Limpopo River, all set about with fever trees. But it was really the crocodile, oh best beloved. And the crocodile winked one eye like this. "Excuse me," said the elephant's child most politely, "but do you happen to have seen a crocodile?" The crocodile winked the other eye and lifted half his tail out of the mud. The elephant child stepped back and most politely, as he did not wish to be spanked again. "Come on, come hither, little one," said the crocodile, "for I am the crocodile." And he wept crocodile tears to show it was quite true. Then the elephant child grew all breathless and panted all and kneeled down on the bank and said, "You are the very person I've been looking for all these long days. Will you please tell me what you have for dinner?" "Come hither, little one," said the crocodile in a whisper. So the elephant child put his head down close to the crocodile's musky, tusky mouth, and the crocodile caught him by his little nose, at which that very week, day, hour, and minute had been no longer than a boot, though much more useful, I think, said the crocodile. And he said it between his teeth like this, "I think today I will begin with elephant's child." At this, oh best beloved, the elephant's child was much annoyed. And he said, speaking through his nose like this, "Let go, you're hurting me." But he sat back on his little haunches and pulled and pulled. As his nose began to stretch, the crocodile floundered into the great water, making it all creamy with great sweeps of his tail. And he pulled and he pulled and pulled, and the elephant's child spread all four little legs and pulled and pulled and pulled, and his nose kept stretching. And it hurt him an awful lot. Suddenly the elephant's child felt his leg slipping, and he said through his nose, which was now nearly 5 feet long, "This is too much for me." Then a bicolored python rock snake noticed his predicament and knotted himself tight round the hind legs of the scrambling elephant's child. He pulled and the elephant's child pulled, and the crocodile pulled, but the elephant's child and the bicolored python rock snake of all the elephant's child's nose with a plop that you could hear all up and down the Limpopo River. The elephant child sat down most hard and sudden, but he said thank you to the bicolored python rock snake. Next, he was kind to his poor stretched nose. He wrapped it all in a cool banana leaves and dangled it in the great, gray, greasy Limpopo River to cool. The elephant child sat there for 3 days waiting for his nose to shrink, but it never grew any shorter, and besides, it made him squint. For, oh, best beloved, you will see and understand that the crocodile had stretched it out into a really truly trunk, same as all elephants have today. So the elephant child went home across Africa, frisking and whisking his trunk. One dark evening, he arrived back to all his dear families and asked them, "How do you do?" "Oh, bananas," said they. "What have you done to your nose?" "I got a new one from the crocodile on the banks of the great greasy Limpopo River," said the elephant's child. "I asked him what he had for dinner, and he gave me this to keep." "It looks very ugly," said his hairy uncle the baboon. "It does," said the elephant's child, "but it's very useful." Then that bad elephant's child spanked all his dear families for a long time, till they were very warm and greatly astonished. At last his dear families went off one by one in a hurry to the banks of the great gray, green, greasy Limpopo River, all set about with fever trees to borrow new noses from the crocodile. When they came back, no one spanked anybody anymore. And ever since that day, oh, best beloved, all elephants have trunks precisely like the trunk of this table elephant's child. The end.